everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Hollyoaks has confirmed Steve Hayes' sinister new plot against Rex Gallagher. Steve has been trying to romance Rex because he believes the small-time crook is hiding secrets about the late James Nightingale and his possible involvement as an imaginary friend to Curtis. Has suspects that Rex may have helped James fake his death in a car bombing before the show's time jump, though his conspiracy theories could be incorrect. Rex has faced even more drama in his home life this week since Grace Black and Freddie Roscoe discovered he paid off nephew Curtis to take the blame for injuring Freddie's daughter Lexi. Rex covered up his responsibility for Lexi's head injury, even though he potentially contributed to her developing epilepsy. Grace and Freddie have since ordered Rex to leave the village. Wednesday's November 13 episode saw Rex frantically making plans to flee Hollyoaks while Steve was answering questions from police over his recent break-in. Once Steve was released from custody, he caught up with Rex and discovered that his love interest was leaving because his family thought they were better off without him. Steve begged Rex to stay in the village without revealing his suspicions about James. When Rex refused to stick around, Steve volunteered to give up baby James and Lucas to go on the run with Rex. The couple secretly spent the night together in the garage. After Rex drifted off, Steve snooped around to find out that the crook was headed to Newcastle. Steve remained convinced that Rex would lead him directly to James, as he silently whispered that he now knew where Rex was keeping his husband. "Tomorrow you're going to bring me to him," Steve warned a sleeping Rex. What lies ahead for Steve in Newcastle? Here's a suspense-filled story centered on Hollyoaks characters Steve and James, with Steve devising a sinister plan amid the revelation of new evidence. ###*********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** And Steve Hay pulled his coat tighter around himself as he walked through the village. The quiet streets felt almost oppressive tonight, shadows stretching long and foreboding across the cobblestones. But it wasn't the night or the cold that had Steve on edge. It was the evidence he found earlier that day, the damning information about James Nightingale. James, the man who had manipulated him, lied to him, and dragged him into one dangerous scheme after another. In the beginning, Steve had thought he could handle it. He could tolerate the lies, the twisted manipulations, as long as he was getting something out of it too. But over time, James's schemes had spiraled further out of control, entangling Steve in situations he never wanted to be a part of. And now, with this new evidence, Steve had all the proof he needed to bring James down once and for all. He glanced down at the crumpled papers in his hand, the photographs he found of James exchanging cash with a shadowy figure outside the local warehouse. The man in the picture was one of the area's most dangerous criminals, a figure Steve knew only by reputation. But James's arrogant smirk, the gleam of satisfaction on his face, confirmed his suspicions. James had been dealing with dangerous people who would do anything to stay under the radar. But Steve's mind was racing. He couldn't just go to the police with this. Not yet, at least. James was clever, and if he knew Steve had evidence, he'd find a way to destroy it, or worse, to turn it around on Steve. He needed a plan, something clever and foolproof, something that would ensure James paid for his crimes without implicating Steve in the process. As Steve walked briskly through the village, heading towards the one place where he knew he could think clearly, the abandoned lot on the outskirts of town, where he and his friends used to gather as teenagers. It was quiet here, the silence only punctuated by the rustling of leaves and the distant hum of traffic. Standing in the middle of the lot, he felt a wave of determination settle over him. If he was going to go through with this, he'd need to play his cards. Steve set his plan in motion, beginning with a trip to the Nightingale law offices. He knew he'd have to act casual, careful not to raise suspicions. Walking into the sleek, dimly lit office, he found James leaning over his desk, rifling through a stack of documents. The sight of him, so polished and smug, made Steve's blood boil. but he forced himself to stay calm. "Stay," James greeted him, not looking up from his paperwork. "I didn't expect you here." "To what do I owe the pleasure?" Steve smiled, feigning innocence. "Just thought I'd pop by," he said, glancing around the room with feigned nonchalance. "Thought maybe we could grab a drink later, catch up. You've been a bit distant lately." James finally looked up, one eyebrow raised. "Distant? Busy, more like, but sure, why not? A drink sounds nice." Steve held back a smirk. That was the first part of the plan, get James out of the office, away from the safety of his files and secrets. Once they were at the bar, Steve could probe him, figure out just how much James was hiding, and gauge his reaction to subtle hints about the evidence. If all went well, James wouldn't even realize he was being cornered. Later that night, Steve and James sat across from each other in the dog, each nursing a drink. The pub was crowded, loud enough to keep their conversation private. Steve decided to start small, just enough to pique James's interest. "I heard a rumor," he said, swirling his drink, "about someone in the village making some shady deals. Meeting with unsavory types." He watched James closely, looking for any sign of tension. "You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?" James chuckled, but Steve noticed a slight tightening around his eyes. "Really," said he. "You think I'd have time for such nonsense?" "Just asking," he said with a shrug. "You know how it is. Rumors fly in this village." James's eyes narrowed slightly. "Well, I'd be careful about what rumors you listen to, say. People love to talk, especially when they don't know what they're talking about." Steve bit back a laugh. The defensiveness in James's tone was all he needed to confirm he was onto something. As the night wore on, Steve fed James subtle hints, dropping fragments of information that only someone involved in the scheme would recognize. James began to grow visibly uncomfortable, his usual calm demeanor cracking just slightly. By the end of the evening, Steve could tell that James was rattled. The plan was working, and the satisfaction was sweet. Over the next few days, Steve started spreading whispers around the village, quiet rumors that someone in their midst had been dealing with criminals. He was careful, making sure the information was vague enough that it couldn't be traced back to him. Soon, the whispers grew louder, and the entire village was buzzing with suspicion. James, of course, noticed the change. The calm, confident exterior he'd always worn was beginning to fray. He started looking over his shoulder, his gaze darting nervously whenever someone mentioned the rumors. Finally, the tension came to a head one evening when James confronted Steve at his flat. "What's going on?" James demanded, his voice low and urgent. "Why is everyone suddenly talking about shady dealings? Who's been spreading these lies?" Steve shrugged, feigning innocence. "I don't know, James. Maybe people are just picking up on the truth." James's eyes widened, his face pale. "The truth?" he whispered. "You don't know anything, Steve. You're making a mistake. You're in over your head." Steve took a step closer, his voice hardening. "No, James. You are the one who's in over his head. I have evidence, and I'm not afraid to use it. You've put me through enough, dragged me into enough of your schemes. It's time someone taught you a lesson." James swallowed, his bravado slipping. For the first time, Steve saw real fear in his eyes, and it felt like a victory. After all the manipulation, all the lies, he was finally the one in control. A few days later, the police arrived at James's office with a warrant, acting on an anonymous tip that had exposed his dealings with the criminal underworld. As he was led out in handcuffs, the villagers watched in stunned silence, murmuring to each other about the scandal. Steve stood among them, a quiet smile on his face as he watched James disappear from view. His plan had worked, and he'd done it without getting his own hands dirty. For once he was free from James's shadow, free from the weight of secrets and lies. As he turned to walk away, he felt a lightness he hadn't felt in years. He'd won, and he'd done it his way. And as far as the village was concerned, he was just as surprised as everyone else. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our Hollyoaks Update YouTube channel for more update news.